An expected discovery is the kind of discovery that doesn't come as a surprise to you, like digging into the ground at an old Roman fort and finding Roman coins. An unexpected discovery is the exact opposite, like finding a Greek marble statue while building a conservatory in your back garden. Unexpected discoveries are much rarer, but they do happen, as you're about to see in this video. The Vologda region of Russia is noted for its many mysterious megaliths. They're stunning examples of ancient stonework, but nobody truly understands who made them, why they made them, or even when they made them. Now, we can add another layer to this mystery. Why is it that the megaliths of Vologda are so similar to the ancient megaliths of Japan? Look at this Ishi no Hoden, for example, where the edges of the megaliths are so smooth that they look almost as if they were cut and then polished with advanced machinery. Then there are the megaliths of Honshu, which also show signs of having been cut and processed with equipment that shouldn't have been available to people thousands of years ago, which is when the stones are presumed to have been made. Is this evidence of a shared cultural heritage between parts of Russia and parts of Japan? Might it even be evidence of an ancient race that once lived in both of these parts of the world and had advanced technology, but has since been forgotten by history? The similarities are surely too strong for all of this to be a coincidence. Speaking of strange stones, let's take a closer look at the varachev stone. It instantly catches the eye of anybody who sees it because it's so obviously been cut into this specific shape, a near-perfect rectangular cuboid. It's on the shores of Lake Ladoga, very close to the village of Pogran Kondushi in Karelia, Russia. Most archaeologists believe that it's a border stone. Even today, it's pretty close to the border between Russia and Finland, but historians think that it was originally positioned to mark a boundary between territories owned by Finno-Ugric tribes. The upper face of the stone is marked with the image of a four-pointed cross contained within a circle. We'd automatically associate such a shape with Christianity today, but the stone is thought to have been carved long before the beginnings of Christianity. Cutting such a large, hard rock into this shape would have been a very difficult task for people who, we presume, had nothing to assist them with the work other than basic hand tools. A simple boulder could have been used as a territory marker, so why go to the trouble of carving the rock? Let's stay in Russia for a bit longer, because there's plenty to look at in the enormous country. In October 2019, satellite photography gave us our first look at a previously undiscovered lake in Russia's Altai region. It's strange to think that we still haven't mapped every inch of the Earth's surface, given all the technology we have at our disposal, but it's true. When seen from high in the sky, this lake in the Kamensky district looks like a featureless white spot. Get a little closer though, and the fact it's a lake quickly becomes apparent. These images were obtained by an organization called the Central Siberian Botanical Garden. The organization's experts are baffled because the lake doesn't have a water supply. There are no rivers or streams flowing into it, nor does there appear to be a water channel beneath the lake. It's shaped like a crater, but the absence of rocks around its perimeter suggests that it isn't. Instead, it's surrounded by a ring of trees at its outermost limits, and then a ring of nothingness at the water's edge. Nothing about this lake makes sense based on our understanding of science. Is there a secret mathematical code that connects almost every ancient structure in the world? It's a hugely controversial claim, but it's the opinion of physicist Robert W. Kreider of Kreider Exploration Limited, and he's given up most of his life to studying it and publishing his findings. For the past few years, Kreider has been based in Egypt, studying monuments like the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx. During that time, he's identified large, seemingly impossible geoglyphs etched into the floor of the desert. One of them even looks like an F-22 plane, as he demonstrates on the diagrams that he's published. By using a cipher, the precise details of which he's never published, he claims to be able to locate new archaeological points of interest by taking the location of existing points of interest and then applying mathematics to them. He obtains an aerial map of the location, plots out his cipher on the map, and then goes to where his formula tells him he'll find something interesting. Using this method, he claims to have made several discoveries in Egypt to go with others he's made in North and South America in the past. Other archaeologists are suspicious of both Kreider and his methods, but nobody can argue with his results. We're heading back to Russia now, or to be more specific, Sulbic Mound in the Republic of Caucasia. Archaeologists in Russia compare this prehistoric monument to the famous site of Stonehenge in Wiltshire, England, but they're quick to point out that the so-called Russian Stonehenge is far larger. You could argue that it's also more interesting from a historical point of view. No significant burials have ever been found at Stonehenge. When Sulbic Mound was first excavated in the middle of the 20th century, it was found to be the burial place of a Tagar king and many of his subjects, who lived and died about 2,700 years ago. Photographs taken before the excavation, which was regrettably very invasive and destructive, show us that the mound was originally pyramid-shaped, with the stones forming a circle around it. The stones are the only part of the original construction left today. It's difficult to get a sense of scale from these images, but the largest of them are 25 feet tall and weigh more than 60 tons. The quarry they were mined from is more than 30 miles away, which begs the question of how they were carried here all that time ago. Nobody has a good answer to that question. There might be more ancient monuments in Peru than there are in any other country in the world. Peru was once home to the Inca, one of history's most inventive but least understood cultures. We tend to credit the Inca with the construction of most of Peru's ancient monuments, but many archaeologists wonder if they sometimes get the credit for work done by other people. As an example, here are the so-called Inca towers in the Peruvian city of Puno. They form part of an Inca cemetery called Silustani. There's no doubt that the Inca buried their dead here, but does that have to mean that they also built these towers? Architecturally, they have nothing in common with any other Inca monuments. An increasing number of experts are coming round to the idea that they might not be Inca in origin, but that leaves us with another problem. If the towers are the work of a different culture that was here before the Inca, how could they have been so adept at stonework? The stones are curved, smoothed, and perfectly slotted together without any form of adhesive. Even now, many centuries after they were built, it's impossible to fit even a single sheet of paper between one brick and the brick above it. Shall we take another trip to Siberia? We promise it's worth it for the view. This is Raspberry Lake, which is in the Altai Territories' Mikhailovsky district. You can immediately see why it's called Raspberry Lake. The pinkish, otherworldly-looking water belongs to the largest of all the Borovoye lakes, covering an area of more than 8 square miles. The unusual color of the water comes from a crustacean that lives in it, called Artemia salina. The crustacean produces the pigment naturally, and there are so many of them in the lake that their pigments dye the water. The pink shade is at its most vibrant during the spring and summer months, before becoming a less pleasant shade of brown during the fall. The salinity of the lake also means that people can float in it easily, which thousands of people turn up to do every year. Alternative therapists say that Raspberry Lake has healing qualities, although there's never been any scientific evidence to back up this claim. It's very pretty to look at, but it's probably not going to cure your ailments. Now we're moving from Russia to Romania to take in the incredible ruins of Sarmisegatuza. It's not a name that many people are familiar with today, but 2,000 years ago, this was the thriving capital of Dacia, a mighty state that existed here long before Romania was born. Getting here isn't easy. Sarmisegatuza is 4,000 feet above sea level among the Oreshti Mountains. That didn't stop the Roman Empire from reaching it in the end, though. In the year 106, Roman troops laid siege to the city and almost completely wiped it off the face of the earth. They came away with so much stolen gold that Rome was able to abolish taxes because it no longer needed money. The level of damage done by the Romans left the city looking like a shell of its former self, but there are still remarkable sights to see here. The quality of the stonework is amazing when you consider it's more than 2,000 years old, and you can even see the remains of a water supply system that would have been considered advanced technology back then. Stone circles have become the theme of our discoveries in this video. So, let's check out another set of mysterious stone circles in Jordan. Very little is known about these walls and their origin. Nobody even knew they were there until they were spotted by a pilot during the early days of aviation in the 1920s. Archaeologists think they're around 2,000 years old, but they acknowledge that they could easily be even older than that. The big puzzle about the walls is that they lack a clear purpose. They're too low to be of any use as defensive walls, and they don't appear to mark any territories. There's no evidence of buildings inside the circles, or even a settlement anywhere near here. To make things even stranger, the walls don't have breaks or entrances. The only way to get in or out of the circles is by jumping over the walls. The circles have an average circumference of about 1,400 feet. Nobody spends this much time cutting and positioning stones if they don't have a reason to do so. But the world's best experts have never been able to develop so much as a best guess about what might have gone on here. We've already checked out one lake in this video, and it was the beautiful Raspberry Lake in Siberia. This lake is just as beautiful to look at, but you wouldn't want to go swimming in it. In fact, if you did go swimming in it, it would be the last thing you ever did. It might be the most dangerous lake in the world. You'll find it on the Caribbean island of Dominica. Even on the coldest days of the year, the temperature of the water in the lake is somewhere between 80 and 90 degrees Celsius. If a human were to fall into it, they would lose consciousness almost immediately, and then gruesomely they'd simply boil to death. The locals know not to go near the lake, but tourists don't always exhibit the same degree of common sense. Unfortunately, there are several incidences each year of visitors climbing on the slippery rocks at the lake's edge, falling in, and having to be fished out from the shore by the emergency services. The survival rate in these incidents is 0. Many years ago, Hattusa was the capital of the Hittite kingdom. Today, you'll find what's left of it in Turkey. The old city is in ruins, with little more than traces of the majesty that once existed here. There's a museum and tourist center at the site, and the staff there will happily show you around the city's old temples, megaliths, and mysterious underground passages. There's one stone here that isn't like all of the others, though. It's a polished, rounded green stone of mysterious origin. There are many theories about how the stone got here, but none of the theories can be verified. Local legends say that it was presented to the Hittites as a peace offering by the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses. A more fanciful legend says that the stone simply fell out of the sky and landed here one day, and has supernatural powers. Anyone who wants to have a wish granted merely has to touch the stone and make their wish, and their dreams will come true. If that's true, perhaps somebody should touch it and wish that they could find out where it came from. If you saw Rani Ki Vav in Patan, India, without being told what you were looking at, your first thought would probably be that the structure must be an ancient temple. It's as ornate and elaborately decorated as any temple in the country, but that isn't why it was built. This is actually an ancient stepwell. The ancient people of Patan probably thought of it as a sacred structure though, because without it, they wouldn't have had any water to drink during the scorching summer months. This is the largest of all the step wells in the area, with pavilions that extended hundreds of feet below the ground. Not content with building the well, its creators embellished it with more than 1,500 religious sculptures. The most commonly accepted version of its history is that construction work on Rani Ki Vav began in the year 1032 under the leadership of Rani Udaimati. Aside from providing water solutions, the well temple was intended as a tribute to Raja Bhimdev, who founded the Solanki dynasty. When the Saraswati River burst its banks during antiquity, the resulting flood silted over the entire well. It remained half-buried in filth until a major restoration project in the 1980s. Now it looks almost exactly as it did when it was brand new 1,000 years ago. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching and see you soon!